Yeah, I think it helps, honestly. And I didn't believe that early on. I didn't think I'd ever be able to raise capital again or that anybody would ever invest with me again.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Gentle Art of Crushing It podcast. And today I'm so honored and excited to welcome Mike Morawski on the show. Mike, welcome.
Hey, Nathan, good to be here. I know that we've had some challenges getting together, but we're finally here. So
We're here. And Mike, I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today and share your story with the audience. The highlights, I think, maybe to just get us started, for those who don't know who Mike Morawski is, 30-year real estate investment, veteran. You've controlled over $285 million in real estate transactions. You're an author of a book called The Exit Plan, which we can see in your background here, I think, right? For those who are not on YouTube, you can go check it out. You're the founder and CEO of My Core Intentions. We'll want to hear about all of that. You're the host of your own podcast called Insider Secrets. You're a coach. What else? What else, Mike? Tell us about your background, your story, what you do in real estate or otherwise, and where you found success.
yeah, so like you said, Nathan, I've been in real estate 30 years. Started out as a residential agent. Prior to that, I was in the construction business and had a fairly good-sized construction company, relatively successful.
What does fairly good size, sorry to interrupt, just for our audience to kind of understand what fairly good size construction company means?
Yeah, I probably built 30 room additions a year. So we did a lot of business. I had, I always tell people, I say, I had 22 employees, 18 trucks, and all kinds of heavy equipment. And as a true entrepreneur, I was, taking care of all of the sales, all of the day-to-day operations, all the hiring, all the firing, all the bookkeeping, and I was still in the field banging nails. And I remember waking up one morning, sitting up in bed, and looked over at my wife, and I said, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And so I was very fortunate. I had somebody knocking at my door to buy the company. So we sold and took a year off. And, any entrepreneur knows you never really take time off, right? So we house hacked a couple of houses during that time. And Nathan, this is long before it was sexy. So, today everybody does it, but back then, it was not a thing that people did. And we house hacked a couple houses, and I'd heard Jim Rohn say one time that success leaves clues, and that always stuck with me. And I met this real estate agent along the way while we were house hacking, who was extremely successful at what he did, and was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And went to him, said, "Hey, I think I want to be in the real estate business," and he said, "I think you'd be great at it." And I, asked him to coach me or mentor me, and he said, I'm going to make you a cassette tape. And he made me this cassette tape, and now I'm really dating myself because I don't think we could find anything to make a cassette tape on today. But I'd say this because these podcasts are just like that. You can go back and listen to them over and over again. And that's exactly what I did. I listened to him over and over again, build into me some fundamentals, went into real estate business. In 9 months, I sold 78 houses, was RE/MAX Rookie of the Year that year, went on to build a team selling about 125 listings a year, did that for about 12 years. And in 2005, I saw the market starting to shift and start to soften. Yeah, I've always had that intuition that something's coming. maybe not really sure what it's going to be or what's going to happen, but know there's going to be a change, know there's going to be a shift. I remember one time I was with a guy, we were driving to his boat up in the chain of lakes not far from where I live. And we drove past this corner, and I said, man, we should build a White Hen here. And White Hen years ago used to be these convenience stores, almost like a 7-Eleven type thing, but an upper scale. He goes, oh, you're crazy. That wouldn't go good there at all. And, about 2 weeks later, we were driving up to the boat again, and there's a big sign in the corner that said White Hen coming soon. So I don't know. I've always had kind of an intuition. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, saw the market shifting, knew I was going to have to do something else. I had 7 people on my team, didn't want to have to let anybody go, but I knew that we weren't going to keep that production up. So I always wanted to be in the apartment business. When I was in the construction business, I did a lot of work for a couple large syndicators here in Chicago. I understood the model. And here's what I understood, that you raised private equity from individuals, you married it with a great real estate deal, you stayed in the middle, and as long as everything went well, everybody did well. And so in 2005, I syndicated my first apartment deal. I bought an 11-unit apartment building. I went out and raised about $200,000 to do that deal. Bought it. It was a complete disaster, but I learned so much along the way. Yeah, I didn't have I always teach people today to have a buying strategy. You should really build a buying strategy and know what you're buying and know what the plan is. But I listened to the seller. The seller said, oh, you can buy this and put a new boiler in and fix the front staircase, and you can put new tenants in and restripe the parking lot, and you'll be able to raise rent. And I bought it all, hook, line, and sinker. And when we took over that property, we found out that the police were there 27 times a month, and that no matter what you did, you weren't raising rent. And we'd rehab units, and the new tenants would move in and trash them and wouldn't pay rent, and it was a disaster.
27 times a month for the police to show up. Yeah, I would qualify that as a pretty big disaster. Not anything I would want to touch.
Hey, in February, it's almost perfect, right?
Yeah.
So, over the next 30 months, though, I raised $18 million and went out and bought $60 million worth of real estate in 5 U.S. markets. I owned 4,000 apartments, scaled a property management company vertically that managed 7,500 units, and did that in 30 months. So that first learning experience just propelled me to learn more, grow more, seek the knowledge that I needed, get the coaching I needed, and build my business from there.
Wow. And what do you think made you successful in that, part of your journey there, I guess? Is it just, tenacity and consistency? I'm curious, because it sounds like you learned a lot, you made a lot of mistakes. I'm just curious what got you, to that level of success.
Tenacity is a great word. I remember I was in the real estate business about 3 years, and I walk in a client's house one day, and he says to me, he goes, man, Morawski, you're the most tenacious person I know. And back then I didn't know what it meant. So I said, oh, thank you, hoping he meant something good. Went home, got the dictionary, looked it up, and I said, oh, that is me. I don't give up. I continue to push through. No matter how hard times get, I continue to walk through it. I walk through storms, and I just, it's a desire to accomplish the deal.
Wow, nice, very nice. So yeah, it sounds like you've already, achieved quite a bit of success at that point. I'm curious if after you've kind of reached that level of success, right? Have you ever had maybe the flip side, right? Have you ever had periods of, tremendously difficult experiences that you might want to share with the audience, right? If you've reached all the success, sounds like your life's pretty good.
Yeah. So, I built $100 million company.
Congratulations. And, that's impressive.
You think it's pretty successful, right? You think you have to check your ego, and you have to check your pride and the other things around it. But 2008 rolled around, and the market went to hell in a handbasket. And what was interesting was I thought that we were in a recession, that recession would only last 17 or 18 months, be a 10 or 12% correction, we'll bounce back. But this thing lasted 7 or 8 years with a 40% correction. The storm became very hard to mitigate. I had a dozen deals that I should have let go to foreclosure and let a handful of investors get hurt, but I didn't want anybody to get hurt. So I decided to start moving money between profitable companies to non-profitable companies to try and save.
So at that point you had several companies, like for each like syndication deal that you have. Is that what the setup was? Got it.
Exactly.
Okay, just making sure we can all follow here.
Yep. So I started moving money back and forth. And I'd gone to my accountant and my attorney, and they both said, hey, it's okay to do that. Just leave a paper trail. And when the markets bounce back, you'll put the money back and, it'll be fine. Well, that's fine, except that in real estate, we're held to a much higher standard. When we take money from people or we are licensed, we're held more accountable. And I didn't tell my investors about the movement of money.
Okay.
And as a result of that, we imploded in 2010. I wound up going to getting sentenced on wire fraud and mail fraud charges and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison.
No
as
way.
A result of non-disclosure. Yeah.
Wow. So did you end up in prison, or was that just a sentence and somehow you got out of it?
Yeah, no, I tried to get, I hoped it would go away, but it didn't. I did end up in prison. And I always tell people, I say, hey, I never flew private. I didn't have a fancy car. I didn't buy a boat. I didn't have a big house. I was the neighborhood baseball coach. I was home most nights for dinner. And I got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with 3 men I didn't know, nor did I like, wondering what the hell happened in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. So
did you? I'm just out of curiosity. Did you spend the 10 years in prison, or were you able to, early parole or something like that?
Yeah, just under 8 years. So in the federal prison system, you do about 85%, and then got a little time off for extra halfway house, and COVID happened, and so it was a little under 8 years, and then I came home and I spent about 10 months on home confinement. So
wow, that's incredible. And I don't even know where to go from this, because that's such a unique, I guess, experience and situation that I can't imagine a lot of people go through, right? But I guess how did you bounce back from that, and where are you at today? Do you still do real estate? So what do you do? Where are you at? I'm just curious how one bounces back from something like that.
Yeah, so while I was gone, I lost everything. I felt like, I walked around the first few weeks in prison like my life was over. I was in prison about 3 weeks, and my wife decided to divorce me. And when that happened, that really that crushed me. It just wrecked my world.
That's the dagger.
And, for the next several weeks, I walked around. The joke in prison was take his shoelaces because we think he's going to hurt himself. I didn't know how I would get through today, much less 10 years. But, I always feel that we have these defining moments in our life, and something shows up in your life where it can make a difference if you choose to act on it. So one day I walk into the gym, and I tell people, I say, look, I was just window shopping. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking to pick up a weight or work out. Yeah. I had gone from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight. I absolutely hated myself. And I walk into the gym, and this guy walks over to me and he says, hey, don't let these people beat you. All they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known. They can take your business, your apartments, your money. They can destroy your family, but they can't take us who you are and what you're made of. He goes, you can get that all back. You can get this 10 years back. Come to my class, start working out, start losing weight. You'll start to feel better. And Nathan, I don't know what it was, but man, a switch flipped, and I said, okay. and I started going to his class. I started working out. I started to feel better. I wound up going to college. I got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books in prison, Exit Plan, which you talked about it at the beginning of the show. But I wrote that book because I want people to understand how to maximize your profit in real estate, when to get it, right?
Yep.
And so I wrote the book Exit Plan. I wrote a book on property management, and I wrote an ethics course. And for 6 years in prison, I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics. I was on an outreach program. I went into the community and I told my story to small business owners and local college students. I met a professor during that time from the University of Minnesota, and he and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics. Today, that paper gets taught at the collegiate level for forensic accounting and sales and marketing classes. I came home the week they closed the world down for the pandemic in 2020. So I jumped from one prison into another. And
I was hesitant to crack that joke because after your background, when everybody during COVID talked about, having to stay home, feeling like a prison, I don't know that that's as relevant in this particular situation or story.
It is a little different. It is a little different.
I would imagine.
And, so I came home and I went into the coaching and training business. And my goal is to teach multifamily investors how to buy multifamily, how to scale their business, how to keep their head in the game. So I coach and train people and wind up partnering with some of my coaching clients, and we sponsor deals. So I'm back syndicating and raising capital again. I got approved by the SEC to go back and be able to do that.
Wow.
So it's kind of come full cycle.
Yeah. I was going to ask if you had any impediments or any, I guess limitations given, the fact that you ended up, being convicted for wire fraud and in prison, right? If there was anything that prevented you from continuing, but it sounds like no. So I'm very, very happy for you and super excited to hear that you've been able to pick that back up. And how is that going now?
It's going good. We actually bought our first deal last year and are chasing another one today. And
wow.
So
congratulations. Yeah. I'm curious to understand, given this crazy story, I still am somewhat speechless here to hear kind of your background and story here, but I'm curious how in your mind, what success means for you, what it meant for you, what was success like in your mind, and when it looked like, your first go at real estate, then maybe in prison, I guess, to after. How has that changed over time?
Try and clarify the question a little bit. What was success back then to what it is today?
Yeah, if it's changed for you, right? I would imagine it must have, right? But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just curious how it changed and if it changed.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. My whole my vision, my focus of success today is so much different. Back then, and I'll just tell this quick story. I remember flying into Nashville one morning, getting off an airplane, and it occurred to me, I said, I wanted to know how much money per door we made after all the bills were paid.
Yeah.
So I called my partner, and he said, hold on, let me figure it out. Called me back a little while later and said, yeah, we make about $19 a door after the smoke clears. I said, that's an interesting number. Calculated it, said, we need 10,000 doors in order to make $1 million a piece. And that was success. I wanted to
10,000 doors was success. Wow.
10,000 doors. I wanted a company that employed, a couple hundred people. I thought that was success, that would be achievement and success.
Yeah.
My ego got out of control. I wasn't a humble person. I was a dick, actually, to be honest with you. And today my focus and my definition of success is so much different. To me, success today is just being able to do what I want to do, right?
That's
I want to
wonderful.
I love real estate. I love multifamily. I love syndicating deals. I love building relationships with people,
Yeah.
raising capital. And to be able to do that, I feel like I'm a success today because I'm able to go back and do that. I love the art of the deal. Trump wrote a book years ago called The Art of the Deal. I
Yeah.
read it, and
Yeah.
it just always stuck with me. But I love negotiating. I love putting deals together. There's a sense of accomplishment in that, and it has nothing to do with the monetary side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, yeah, we all need money to live and grow and take a vacation and do the things. And,
Of course. Yeah.
I like great, nice things just as much as the next guy does. But that's not the key focus today. That's not the key focus. That's a benefit of the key focus.
Got it. And I'm just curious, this is somewhat of a random question, but I'm thinking about this kind of, replaying your story in my head here. Do you feel like the fact that you ended up in prison, right, as a convicted individual, right, in your business today, do you feel like that helps you or hinders you when talking to people, when people find out about it, when they're like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm never gonna, lend money to this, felon, right?
Right.
Or is it more like, yeah, this person's proven they did it once, they lived through that, they came out, now they're doing it again. So yes, I want to give them, my money in a sense, right? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it helps, honestly. And I didn't believe that early on. I didn't think I'd ever be able to raise capital again or that anybody would ever invest with me again. I was on a podcast one day and there was probably, I was telling my story, there was probably 150 people on this meetup one afternoon at lunch. And somebody, and I don't even know who it was, somebody said, hey, are you raising money again? And I said, no. They said, well, let me know when you are because I wouldn't want to invest with anybody other than you because you've already made the mistakes. You know what to watch out for.
Yeah.
And, we are going into a market right now that, we're just coming off of this big bull run, coming over the top, going into the valley. There's a lot of operators, there's a lot of people that have bought deals way high on the way up. There's going to be a storm and people are going to not know how to handle that storm. I know how to handle that storm today. And I know what I know what I did wrong. I always tell people, I say I made 5 mistakes. I grew way too fast. I bought way too much real estate in a very short period of time. I was very unstable as a company. I was undercapitalized. I didn't have enough capital to grow the company at the rate I was growing the company. And I was over leveraged. I owned $60 million worth of real estate at 85% loan to value. I don't know who was worse, me for taking the money or the banks for giving it to me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's a disaster. It's a recipe for disaster.
But you weren't alone, right? That was kind of common standard practice back then, right? It's not like you were doing something different than everyone else, right?
Right. Absolutely. And, and then I didn't pay attention to the details, like I knew there was things going on that weren't right. But I thought if I went and did another deal, raised some more money, closed another deal, brought some more revenue in, that would help and straighten things out. And it didn't. What it did was it made the problem stretch out longer.
Yeah.
And then the fifth thing, which I almost think is one of the most important things, is I didn't listen to key people around me. People who said things like, I don't like what I see going on. I don't trust people around you. I think people around you are up to things that you're not aware of. And I was like, you know what? I think you're wrong. I've got this under control. Don't worry about it. Here again, pride, ego in the way, saying, that I had it all put together and I didn't. So, but those 5 things are really what make me look at deals harder today, make me underwrite differently today, and make me have a different strategy.
Wow. And maybe this is the answer to my next question here, but and hindsight, of course, is always very easy, right? But if you were to go back in time to when you were younger, say 18 or whatever, and wanted to start your journey over, given what you know now, what would you do differently? I guess how would you approach life and like the journey to success?
I would have gotten to real estate earlier.
I love it. Good answer.
And I would have done more deals when I was younger.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that doesn't have anything to do with the scaling too fast piece, but I would have done
starting
more,
sooner and doing more. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I would have got started a lot sooner, and I would have gotten a coach way back then too.
Yep.
Where I've been coached for over 20 years. I still have a couple coaches in my life today.
Mm-hmm.
But a good coach helps you self-discover what you already know, and just helps you pull it to the top. They don't tell you what to do, and they keep your head in the game.
Yep.
And that a good coach would keeps my head in the game, and that's what I do with the people that I coach as well.
Yeah. Wow. One of the things that we like to do, Mike, in this podcast is to really try to help people move, from maybe a place of, being negative, glass half empty, not really having that success mindset, and, help them kind of get to a place where they're more, in like a success mindset mode. And I'm just really curious and excited to hear what your tip or what you would say to somebody, obviously given your story and what you've been through, right, to help somebody go from kind of that glass half empty mindset to a glass half full mindset, abundance, you can do this, anything's achievable. What's your secret, I guess?
Yeah, I don't think it's a short answer. The first thing I'll say is you can't let your past define your future. Mm-hmm. You can't let your past define who you are. I think that so many people are in a prison in their mind because maybe, I might have been behind a wall, but so many people are imprisoned in their own mind because of addiction, could be alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, past abuse, sexual, physical, emotional, and they're trapped in that, and they don't let themselves out. They don't let themselves move forward, and you can't let that past define your future. We all have this little friend that sits on our shoulder that when we get up in the morning that says, "What are you, crazy? You can't do that. You can't accomplish that." Mm-hmm. And what you have to do is be able to quiet that my coach calls it a drunk monkey, right? You have to be
that drunk monkey.
Yeah. You have to be able to quiet the drunk monkey and believe in yourself and believe that you can go and achieve. Because if you believe in you, people are going to believe in you, and you're going to be able to help other people get to where they want to go based on what you do.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. That's so inspiring. Mike, thank you very much for that. And trying to bring this to an end, because I want to be, mindful and respectful of your time. And again, thank you so much for kind of sharing your story with us and the audience here, Mike. But I'm curious if you had one book that you'd want to recommend to anyone, our audience in this case, right? What book would that be? Obviously yours, but what else? Or if that's the one, that's the one.
Yeah. So, I asked the same question on my podcast, right? And it's more than one book, and it's a couple of books, but first of all, it's the Bible. But I read a book years ago written by Gary Keller called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the greatest real estate investment books ever written. I teach that book to people. I teach the fundamental principles out of that book to people because they're timeless. And they're principles that, wealth was grown 100 years ago and can still be grown today as a result of the principles in that book. But most recently, I just finished a book called Winning by Tim Grover. And Tim Grover was Yeah, he was the personal coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Charles
Yep.
Barkley, anybody who's in the NBA Hall of Fame. He was their personal coach in the last 30 years, and it's called Winning, and it kicked my butt. It's a
In
great
what
book.
sense? Say more.
Yeah, it just it's very it makes you think about your strategy and what you do and how you behave on a daily basis, and it makes you dig deeper and really want to do more. It was
Wow.
well written.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to pick that one up because I've not read that one. And for everyone else, right, in the audience, of course, we'll make sure all the like links to these recommendations and books are in the show notes, so everyone can pick them up. And similar to the book recommendation, is there like a piece of technology or a tool that you use as part of your journey and your success that you'd recommend people pick up?
Well, one of the things that I use that we've built in-house is our underwriting tool.
Oh, wow.
And our underwriting tool for multifamily is pretty robust. We spent 20 years in development
Yeah,
on this
of course.
thing.
Yeah.
It's changing all the time, and it allows us to really look in depth at a deal. And that tool's available to anybody.
Oh, wow.
But that's what I use, that I lean on heavily today. Of course, I have a great CRM, and we do a lot of
Yeah.
social media and all those tools, and my cell phone. The most
Oh, yeah.
powerful thing on the planet these
Oh,
days,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, my underwriting tool is probably is one of the most powerful pieces of software that I use today.
And where can people pick that up? Again, we'll put it in the show notes, but why don't we just
Yeah.
plug it now? Where can they pick that up?
Yeah, reach out to me and ask me for it. It's Mike at mycoreintentions.com is my email address. I love to network with people and meet people, and if I can help you on your journey, I would do that. But reach out to me, and I can share that with you and walk through how I could teach you how to use it. So.
Wonderful. Well, everybody in syndication, go reach out to Mike and pick up that deal analyzer. Awesome, Mike. Well, just bringing this to a wrap here to an end. How can our audience help you? What do you want to plug? How can people reach out? So you obviously just gave out your email address. You've got a lot going on, from your coaching business to your book, your podcast. How can the audience help, and where do you want them to reach out?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, you can find me anywhere on social media, any platform. Go to my YouTube channel. There is a ton of content on my YouTube channel. I've done over 300 podcasts, and so different speakers, different levels of skill in the multifamily space, in the real estate space. Go and spend hours just listening to people, but subscribe to my channel while you're there if you would. That's YouTube, and then just like me on social media. That's all.
And what about your podcast? You want to plug that real quick?
Yeah, I do a couple different shows. I'm live on Thursday mornings on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, called Thursday Morning Live. I tend to have an entrepreneur on, not necessarily always in the real estate business, but
Yep.
we just talk about business and markets and personal growth and things like that. And then on Saturday, I do a show called Multifamily Unplugged, which is always about multifamily, and really for more the newer investor coming in the business, whether they're active or passive. And then I also have a show called Insider Secrets. So you can find all of that at my website, which is mycoreintentions.com. And while you're there, you could grab a free copy of Exit Plan for yourself. Go to mycoreintentions.com/free, and you'll be able to download an ebook version of that and a couple other ebooks that I have there as well. So please go, further your education. If I can help beyond any of that free stuff, don't worry about it. Just call me and let me do what I can do for you.
Wonderful. Well, Mike, thank you so much for that. We'll make sure we put all of that in the show notes so we can have people come over and start engaging with you, with My Core Intention, your YouTube channel, your podcast, everything. You've got a lot going on. I really want to thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you for the last, half hour or so. I had the chills and goosebumps, throughout the discussion here, just listening to your story. I don't know how you went through it, but it's very impressive, and thank you so much for sharing that with everyone here, with our audience. So thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Nathan. I appreciate the opportunity, and you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Mike.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.